In this lesson we'll continue writing tests for base button component. And let's check that anytime we're going to pass type to base button component, we're going to get appropriate set of classes assigned to that button. So this way we're going to make sure that every type of button is rendered properly. So I'm going to start with the following test, so that when I'm going to pass type with the value danger, I'm gonna get proper danger button rendered. And then we're going to generalize this test to work with any button type, not just danger. We can fully copy the implementation of previous test, paste it in here, and change a few things. So we're not checking primary button type in this test. Let's change this constant on danger button classes, and then I'm gonna open up base button component and copy this set of classes that correspond to danger button type. And now while rendering base button component, we have to additionally supply prop called type. And the way we're passing props to Vue components is by specifying additional key called props. And here we are using an object with keys that correspond to prop names. In this case, I need to pass only one prop with a name type and the value danger. TypeScript is also complaining that type should not be a string, but a particular type called button type. So let's use this type and reference danger key like so. Button type is a custom type that is defined inside types.ts file, and as you can see, it is a simple enumeration which contains all button types. So before checking the result of the test execution, let's get back to base button test and change this constant on danger button classes. And now we are ready to check if this test is going to pass. As you can see, it is passing. But of course this is not enough for us, because this test only checks that danger button is properly rendered. And since we have 5 different button types, we have to improve this test and check every button type. So in here we're going to use so-called data-driven test or parameterized test, which is implemented by calling method each like so. And here we are passing an array of objects, where each object is going to store the data needed to execute test for a particular button type. In our case, each object from this array is going to contain 2 keys, type, and corresponding classes for this type. So I'm simply going to create 5 different objects, each of which is going to store proper button type and its corresponding classes. And I'm copying over all these classes from the base button component. And eventually our testing function is going to be executed as many times as many objects are contained in this array that we are passing the method each. And as a parameter, it is going to receive an object from this array. We can destructure this object and extract properties, type, and classes, like so. And also we can reference these properties in the test description. So let's make this test description generic and use type property instead of specifying exact button type. So inside of this test, we no longer need to hardcode classes for button type, since we're going to get classes in the property called classes. So let's reference this property right here. And let's do the same with type property. We no longer have to hardcode this property type. And there we go, the test has been executed 5 times, every time with a new button type. But just to make sure that we are testing the proper behavior, let's switch over to base button component and swap any of these button types to make sure that the test is going to throw an error, because we have just changed classes for button types. And indeed, test is throwing an error, just like we expect. Now I'm going to revert all the changes I have made to base button component, get back to the test, remove these modifier only, and also let's surround button type in the first test description with quotes, like so. And at the end, I'm going to run all the tests in the project. Let's switch over to the terminal and press A. All tests are executed successfully.